What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing my Destiny 2 wishlist for 2021. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on our new content. Now, I want to preface this video by saying that everything that I mention in this video is purely just my opinion. These are things that I would like to see. If you guys have something different that you would like to see in Destiny 2, be sure to drop it down low in the comments. Now, for those that want a quick TLDR breakdown of what I'm going to be talking about in today's video, my list of things that I'd love to see changed or added to Destiny 2 in 2021 include power leveling changes, a true codex, PvP improvements, a focus on loot incentive, more evergreen activities that can be updated in terms of loot and mechanics, and lastly, something like a new weekly planetary activity that encourages us to go visit these planets. For example, maybe something like a weekly boss hunt where we can farm and earn some unique looking gear. Now, these are just a couple of the things that I have on my Destiny 2 wishlist. There's plenty more, but for the sake of this video, not being an hour plus, I'm gonna focus on these specific ones. So to kick things off, something that I've always wanted to see in Destiny that I think would benefit old and new players is a codex. Now, I know that Bungie's added the lore into the game and they've improved it, being able to read the lore books entirely within Destiny 2, but something that the game desperately needs, in my opinion, is somewhere where new and old players can go and read up on various characters, locations, and past events that have occurred in Destiny 2. Recently, since Bungie has taken out a bunch of content and put it into the Destiny content vault, a lot of players haven't gotten to experience old campaign missions or truly understand any of the past events that have happened. Something that could benefit them is having somewhere to go to read up on these past events, read up on some of the characters that were in the game, and read about some of the characters that are currently in the game. Getting a good understanding of their background can really help flesh out the game for a lot of players. So you guys let me know what you think. Do you think that Destiny 2 needs to add a codex? Comment down below. Now, moving right along, something that is going to be in common with a lot of the things that I mentioned going forward is going to be the loot incentive in Destiny 2. And in terms of the way that Destiny currently handles loot incentive, I think that there's plenty of room for improvement. Now, before anyone starts typing angrily down below in the comments, just hear me out. Destiny at its core is a looter shooter. So at the core of the game, we as players are participating in different activities and challenges in order to earn loot. Now, what defines loot? We have weapons, armor, endgame materials like Ascendant shards and enhancement prisms, weapon and armor ornaments, and also weapon and armor mods. All of these things combined make up the loot table. The issue currently is that there are a multitude of new and old activities that either don't properly utilize the available loot as incentive to grind or don't have the necessary pieces to offer as rewards. Here's a few examples of this. Firstly, we have the lack of strike specific loot. Now, for my D1 players, you're familiar with this, but for any new players, strike specific loot are unique farmable pieces of weapons and armor tied to the theme of a certain strike or boss. Each strike usually had one item, and they weren't always the best in class items, but they were unique enough that you had to have them. D2 initially had some of these, but they were limited to only nightfalls and mostly had static rolls. Now, Bungie is adding back some D1 legendaries as strike rewards in Season 13, but I'd love to see them start to add uniquely themed strike loot in the near future. Another example is not using masterwork gear or rewarding enough endgame materials like Ascendant shards and enhancement prisms in pinnacle activities like Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls, dungeons, raids, trials, and the competitive PvP playlist. If you go back to the Pit of Heresy dungeon, whenever you completed that dungeon on the moon, you were rewarded a masterwork piece of gear. And I always thought that eventually this would become a regular thing for completing dungeons, and figured it would make for really good loot incentive for other challenging activities. It also baffles me that Ascendant shards aren't a reward in all endgame activities. In my opinion, the tougher the challenge, the more rewards you should earn. It's similar to completing a raid challenge mode and earning double a chest.
Two chests. Two chests. Oh my god.
I got mad shit. Hold on.
Now, Bungie did speak recently about committing to increasing the loot in quality and quantity, and that's going to take some time. I don't want to make some unrealistic requests like give us a complete armor and weapon set for every activity in the game, but adding items each season and utilizing and improving the loot we have can go a long way to improving loot incentive in the short term while they work on their long-term goals. Next up, I want to talk about PvP, and I want to piggyback off of what we just mentioned in terms of loot incentive. Currently, the best weapons in PvP come from PvE, and to me that's an issue. Destiny is made up of a community of players who either like only PvE, only PvP, or both. If you're a player who mostly enjoys PvP, I gotta admit that in terms of loot, there's little to nothing there as incentive to jump in and chase. For a time, pinnacle weapons were that, and I'd love to see them return in some capacity. A player should also be able to play PvP and earn the necessary materials to upgrade their armor and weapons. I'm looking at you, upgrade modules, enhancement prisms, and ascendant shards. Now, Trials of Osiris currently represents the competitive side of PvP, and it does reward you with endgame materials, armor, and adept weapons and mods. It's still not in its final form and can use more improvements, but in the least, it is rewarding. In terms of the quick play and competitive playlist, they've sort of been left out to dry. Competitive no longer has a pinnacle weapon to pursue, nor does it reward endgame materials upon ranking up. There's no guaranteed high stat armor, and the weapon pool in PvP has undesirable roles to say the least. I'd like to see a focus on restructuring the comp playlist and increasing the rewards for players who choose to invest time in that playlist. Ascendant Nomad made an awesome video showing off a concept of how he envisions PvP being improved. Him and Nearest worked together to bring a visual realization of that to life, and I think you guys should definitely go check it out. I'll have that video linked down below in the description. Now, aside from the loot incentive in PvP, another thing that I'd love to see is more variety added to the different game types in the playlist. One idea that I've mentioned many times on Twitter is introducing a PvP mode where player abilities were either limited or completely removed. The idea of this is to shift the focus to the gunplay, which is one of the best aspects of Destiny. Think about this mode as an exact opposite to what Mayhem is. Now, every time I've mentioned this, most people say that they don't like this idea because it takes away from what Destiny is all about. Now, I tend to disagree with that because personally, I think it'll add a nice change of pace to what we're usually accustomed of. Now, keep in mind, the idea that I'm pitching here is to add a new mode, not take away the modes that we currently have. So all this would be is just an additional option for those people who I know are out there that love to play PvP, but also want to appreciate the gunplay a little bit more than the ability spam that exists in other playlists. Now, I definitely want you guys to comment down below and let me know if you'd play a mode like this without your abilities in Destiny 2, and it's okay if you disagree with me. Now, next up on my wish list is a change to the power leveling system. Currently, every season and yearly DLC drop, we get new content and immediately start our power grind. This has always been a fundamental aspect of the game, but I think that now it's become confused as content. Power level, in my opinion, is not content. Now, I'm not saying to remove power levels altogether, but what I'd like to see is a shift from focusing on what power level a piece of gear is and making sure I complete a certain activity to earn powerful gear, and instead have a more fluid system that steadily levels you up no matter what activity you play, similar to grinding the soft cap until you reach the quote-unquote endgame or pinnacle cap. This would allow for players to stop chasing a power number and instead focus on things like builds, farming stats, and weapon rolls as you play new activities every season and naturally level up to the pinnacle cap. Once you reach the pinnacle cap, the landscape of the game would change, and all the activities that rewarded powerful gear would then begin to reward pinnacle gear. Again, the concept I'm pitching is not about power level. So it doesn't matter if everyone can level up from playing a strike or PvP or gambit. The difference in the end game would be in the quality and quantity of the rewards you can earn depending on the challenge of the activity you completed. For example, if you're running strikes, PvP, or gambit, post pinnacle cap, you could earn a weekly +1 pinnacle drop, high stat gear, and a few enhancement prisms. If you complete a dungeon or a master or grandmaster nightfall, you could earn a +2 pinnacle, masterwork gear, high stat armor, and farm for ascendant shards and prisms. The Grandmaster would also be the more rewarding of the two Nightfalls. And finally, raids, Trials of Osiris, and the competitive PvP playlist would have a similar structure, rewarding you with a +3 pinnacle, high stat armor, ascendant shards and prisms, on top of the weapons and armor specific to each of those playlists. This is the idea that I have for aspirational content, and a restructuring of the power leveling system in Destiny 2. It's accessible to everyone, and it rewards those willing to take on the toughest challenges, while equipping those who may not be with the tools necessary to climb the ladder. I may end up making a dedicated video to a lot of these topics to flesh them out a bit more, but let me know what you guys think so far down below in the comments. Now, wrapping up my wish list for 2021 is Bungie investing in more evergreen activities that can have their loot and mechanics updated over time. Now, what is an evergreen activity, you ask? Think of it like the core activities such as strikes, crucible, and gambit. Now, these modes will be getting yearly refreshes on their loot and hopefully some more maps and updates over time. One idea for evergreen activity that I mentioned a while back was having planetary activities to encourage players to actively visit planets weekly. Think of it kind of like the Flashpoint, but actually having something to do. You could also consider them an upgrade to patrols. Now, one of the ideas that I had for these activities was a weekly bounty hunt for either the Spider or the Vanguard, and the rewards that you'd earn from hunting these bounties could be enemy themed armor ornaments and weapons, acting as trophy pieces from successfully defeating these bosses. The idea behind this is that you have a reason to go visit these planets, and you can earn cool unique rewards that can be updated with new bosses and ornaments themed after the current season or events like the Dawning and Festival of the Lost. If you have any ideas for evergreen activities that you'd like to see in the game, comment your suggestions down below. And you don't have to be limited to just adding activities to planets, they could be entirely new playlist activities as well. So that's going to do it for my Destiny 2 wishlist for 2021. I know Bungie's working hard to improve the game, and they're in year 2 of being an independent studio. They've laid out their roadmap for the vision of the game, and only time will tell if everything works out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, and if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you see when I drop new content. If you guys want to come and chat with me live, you can find me on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Link is down below in the description. Thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.